Alright, so welcome back everybody. So as you saw in the intro, took a little trip this morning. I gotta get new rotors and pads put on my car. They're starting to squeak and that's kind of obnoxious. I called around, priced it a couple places. You know, it wasn't a bad price. 180, 210. Not terrible, but that's still money that I could save if I do it myself. So I know the garage I was working in is great for, you know, auto body stuff, but getting a car in there comfortably and on jack stands and all that stuff is going to be, you know, strenuous. So I came down to my in-laws house. I'm gonna get it done here. So I'm gonna record the process, you know, come back from time to time showing different bolts and things like that, sizes, so anybody who wants to do it on their own can also do it, you know, that way too. All right, so for the sake of trial and error, we did the first one off camera so we could figure out the whole process, the size of hardware we needed, how it went in. This is it. This is the R1 Concept cross-drilled and slotted rotors and their ceramic pads. The back bolts right back here that hold the actual full assembly on are 22 millimeter. The bolts up here that hold the caliper cover that go over the brakes are 14 millimeter. So like I said, I'm gonna do that on the other side now, and then you'll see the process in action. All right, so first and foremost, make sure you loosen your wheels before you jack the car up. Otherwise, you're gonna take it back down and do it all over again. The wheels loosened, get your jack into your jack point, raise the car up to the wheels clear, and then take the rest of the wheels off. So the 22 millimeter is right here and down here. So I'm going to take both of these bolts out, move this off to the side, pull the rotor out, put this back on at the top, and then hinge just the caliper cover. Just so you know, these 22 millimeter are a bitch to loosen. So if you're gonna do this, make sure you put some ash behind it, because they are not for the faint of heart. Alright, so for the sake of not pinching or breaking your brake lines, once you get it loosened and you get it off the rotor, either hang it off the control arm if you can. If you can't, just find something to sit it on. Alright, so now that's loosened up and everything's off. I'm gonna bash this thing with a big rubber mallet until it breaks away. Yeah. I'm definitely not big enough for this. So what I didn't know that I had to ask, because the ones I bought didn't come with directions, is these are rotational. So you need to make sure that the angles point down toward the back, up toward the back of the car, not the front, because they're backwards, they're not going to work effectively. So I already set the path the driver's side one to the correct side, so we know this one's right. Alright, so as you can see, with the bottom bolt taken out, the caliper cover itself hinges up. I placed a piece of foam here in the middle to keep it upright. Once that was off, I was able to take the pads out on each side. Once the pads are out, I got to remove these clips. So the R1 Concepts kit comes with new clips, So essentially, you got to put the clips together. But as long as you set up the pins or the springs in the same manner that they are on the factory clips, it's pretty self-explanatory. So I'm gonna go ahead and start with the bottom one, pop it out. As you can see, I already put together the bottom clip based off of the driver's side, but I already did ahead of time. It's really easy to put these together. You just put the footer inside here, run both pieces of the spring behind this clip here, and hook it under that notch there. The top one comes off the same way. Just pop it off the little footers right here, these little teeth right there. So you can see this one is different than the other one. So that's the bottom one, that's the top one. I'm gonna go ahead and put the springs on this one, get these reinstalled, and get the pads put back in. All right, so there's the top mount put together. Go ahead and stick this one back in the car. Goes right up here. Just place on the little teeth on both front and back, like that. And then the bottom one, same thing. Place it in, clip it, and clip it. And that's that right there. Now, here are the new brake pads. As I said, the clipped one goes to the back. I'll go ahead and slide that one in. You want to put one piece on one side of the pin and the other piece on the other side of the pin. And then just give them a little push in place and get them installed. So there's the back one. And then, as I said, right here, see the little notch groove? Put the spring inside the notched groove. That top part's in, and the bottom part's in. Now, both pads are installed. So now what I need to do, I need to compress the pistons inward. I'm just gonna use a screwdriver and some brute force to push them down in, and then slide them back over the brake pads, and then lock the bolts back down, and then torque them back to spec. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that off camera, and I'll bring you back to it. All right, so the front's done. Driver's side's finished, passenger side is finished. Everything's torqued down the spec. Wheels put back on. It's tightened down and torqued down to 100 foot-pounds for each lug, so we're good. I'm gonna lower the jack, pull this out, back it back in, and go ahead and knock out the back and call it a day. So I got two cameras, one's dead, the other one is about to die. So for the sake of that, I'm gonna keep this video short. I'm gonna go ahead and do the backs off camera, get the whole car done, and then I will show you a walk around of all four wheels completed with the R1 Concepts rotors slotted and drilled and their ceramic pads. All right, so I know I said I was gonna wait till I got everything done to turn this camera back on. I have 3% left, so there's a high likelihood that this will turn off in the middle of me doing this. But I thought it was worthy of showing you. So the back is completely different than the front. They're smaller, they're deeper because they gotta go over the emergency brake, and the calipers in the brake pads are half the size of the ones up front. Not only that, but this bolt is still a 14, but it's this long, and it goes through this little boot. This bolt is no longer a 22, it is now a 19, and I had to scavenge around the garage looking for a 19 to fit this, but I finally got it. The driver's side is completely done. I'm gonna knock out this passenger side, and then I will call it donezo. So as I said, the brake pads on the rear are significantly smaller. So as you can see in this photograph of the old front and rear brake pads, the size difference is crazy. Anyway, these are the clips for the back. These also came with the kit. As you see, there are no spring retainers for these brackets, so they're pretty simple. They are different at the top, so I'm gonna go ahead and swap them out, put the new pads in, and get this put back together. That's where we're at right now. Put this back together, pop this off, swap out the rotor, and finally, after, God, 4 hours, because these things would not come off, I'll have this thing rolling again. So, as you can see, we're back home. The car's back here with me as well. Just got back today. It is the 26th of December. And I have a story for you. But before I tell that story, I'm going to go ahead and show you how the rotors and the brake pads turned out. So, let me cut over to that then. And then I'll come back to the story. So now that you've seen the kit, that's the R1 Concepts rotors and brake pads and clips. I paid $295, I believe, for the whole kit shipped to my door. If you don't plan on upgrading to sport brakes, they're a really good alternative. They're cost effective and they're very well made and they work really good. So I highly recommend them. With that said, story time. It's been 5 days since I started the install of the calipers and brake pads. I know that's a long time, but I had some issues along the way. For the sake of transparency, I'm going to go ahead and tell you those issues because I said in the beginning of this that I was going to tell you the good, the bad, and the ugly. So, the ugly, I over-torqued a caliper pin bolt with a torque wrench that was faulty without checking the spec of the torque wrench first. And it took me 3 days to get the parts ordered because no auto parts store in town had them available. I picked up the parts on the 24th of December. 25th was Christmas. Obviously, I didn't get anything done that day. Today's the 26th. I worked on it this morning, got the bolt replaced, went across all 4 wheels again with a new torque wrench, spec'd everything down to the proper torque setting, and drove the car home. It came back. I got back here. I made it safely. No clicks, no ticking, no braking. Well, the car brakes fine. It's doing its job. Nothing broke, as the literal term. So at the end of the day, I'm happy. It would have cost me $180 to have a shop replace my brakes and rotors. I did it for $8.99 and a little bit of my time. So that's all I have for this video. Again, as I said, if you like the R1 Concepts kit, I highly encourage it. It's cost effective and it does its job. I have some stuff lined up for the next couple iterations of videos, so I'm going to go ahead and get started on those, and I will see you on the next one.